Most people know Africa exists, but surprisingly, many still confuse it for a single country, rather than a vast continent made up of 54 recognized nations, thousands of languages, and diverse cultures. In this episode, we begin by challenging one of the most common misconceptions about Africa, and explore how media, education, and global narratives have shaped this misunderstanding. By the end of this deep dive, viewers will see Africa not as one place, but as a massive, complex, and deeply diverse continent with its own histories, economies, identities, and civilizations. Before we continue, it is important to understand the mission behind Griot Wave Academy. This platform was created to preserve knowledge, culture, music, and stories that often go unheard or are forgotten. Griot Wave is not just about content. It is about building independent systems of learning, creativity, and empowerment. Through books, audio, technology, and media, the goal is to transform timeless wisdom into practical tools for today's generation and future generations. This is the core misconception we are addressing. Africa is not one country. It is one continent made up of 54 sovereign nations, each with its own government, borders, cultures, languages, economies, and histories. Saying Africa, as if it is a single country, oversimplifies one of the most diverse regions on Earth. Understanding this distinction is the first step toward understanding Africa more accurately and respectfully. This misunderstanding did not happen by accident. Over time, colonial borders, selective media coverage, and shallow education systems helped flatten an entire continent into a single narrative. Africa's diversity, innovation, languages, and civilizations were often ignored, while conflict and poverty became the dominant global image. To truly understand Africa, we have to examine how these distorted perceptions were created, and why they continue to persist today. One reason many people underestimate Africa is because most world maps distort its true size. Africa is enormous, over 30 million square kilometers, making it the second largest continent on Earth. In fact, the United States, China, India, Japan, and much of Europe can all fit inside Africa at the same time. Even the Sahara Desert alone is larger than the contiguous United States. Understanding Africa's true scale changes how we see its resources, diversity, influence, and global importance. Here's a question that surprises many people. How many languages are spoken across Africa? Most people dramatically underestimate the answer. Africa is one of the most linguistically diverse places on Earth, with thousands of languages, dialects, and cultural identities spread across the continent. This diversity alone shows why Africa cannot be reduced to a single story, culture, or identity. This map alone shows why Africa cannot be treated as a single country. The continent is made up of 54 recognized nations, grouped into 5 major regions: North, West, East, Central, and Southern Africa. Each country has its own government, borders, languages, currencies, traditions, and political realities. Morocco is not Nigeria. Kenya is not South Africa. Egypt is not Ghana. Africa is united geographically, but incredibly diverse, politically, culturally, and historically. This chart shows one of the most important demographic shifts of the 21st century. Africa's population has grown from roughly 230 million people in 1950 to over 1.5 billion today, and by 2050, more than 1 in every 4 humans on Earth could be African. This is not just population growth. It represents a massive rise in youth, labor, innovation, markets, culture, and global influence. The future of the world will be deeply connected to the future of Africa. Africa is not only growing fast, it is also the youngest continent on Earth. The median age across Africa is just over 19 years old, far younger than Europe, North America, or Asia. That means Africa's future will be shaped by a massive generation of young people, entering education, technology, business, politics, and culture. This youthful population represents both a challenge and an enormous opportunity for the continent and the world. When many people imagine Africa, they picture only savannas and wildlife. But Africa contains some of the most extreme and diverse landscapes on Earth. The continent is home to the massive Sahara Desert, the ancient Namib Desert, and the vast Congo Basin rainforest, the second largest tropical rainforest in the world. From deserts to jungles, mountains to coastlines, Africa's geography is as diverse as its people and cultures. Africa's geography is filled with global superlatives and natural wonders. The continent is home to Mount Kilimanjaro, Africa's highest peak, the Great Rift Valley, often called the cradle of humanity, and the Nile River, one of the longest rivers on Earth. It also contains Lake Victoria, Africa's largest lake. These landscapes shaped civilizations, trade routes, ecosystems, and human history long before the modern world emerged. Madagascar is one of the most unique ecosystems on the planet. Because the island was geographically isolated for millions of years, around 90% of its wildlife exists nowhere else on Earth. Animals like lemurs and fossas, along with iconic baobab trees, evolved independently and became completely unique to the island. It is another reminder that Africa's natural diversity goes far beyond the stereotypes many people are taught. Africa is one of the most linguistically diverse places on Earth, with an estimated 1,500 to 3,000 languages spoken across the continent. These languages belong to major language families like Niger-Congo, Afro-Asiatic, Nilo-Saharan, and Khoisan. Some include globally influential languages such as Swahili, Arabic, Hausa, Amharic, and many Bantu languages. This incredible linguistic diversity reflects thousands of years of migration, trade, culture, and civilization across Africa. Africa's spiritual and religious landscape is deeply diverse and layered. Christianity and Islam are the two largest religions across the continent, but traditional belief systems remain deeply influential and continue to shape culture, identity, family structures, and community life. In many places, indigenous traditions exist alongside Christianity and Islam rather than disappearing completely. This creates a rich spiritual tapestry that reflects Africa's long and complex history. When people think about Africa, they are often shown only poverty, conflict, or rural imagery. But this is also Africa. Modern skylines, fast-growing cities, technology hubs, financial centers, and massive urban development. Cities like Lagos, Nairobi, and Cairo are shaping innovation, media, business, and culture for millions of people. Africa is urbanizing rapidly, and its cities are becoming major players in the global future. Let's end with 5 rapid-fire facts that completely change how many people see Africa. The Sahara is larger than the contiguous United States. Africa contains roughly 1/3 of the world's languages. The Nile is one of the longest rivers on Earth. The Namib is considered the world's oldest desert. And Madagascar's wildlife is so unique that most of it exists nowhere else on the planet. These are not small facts. They reveal the scale, diversity, and global importance of Africa. When Africa is reduced to a single country or a single story, billions of experiences, cultures, and histories disappear. The myth presents Africa as one language, one landscape, and one narrative, usually centered on poverty or crisis. But the reality is far more complex. Thousands of languages, diverse ecosystems, ancient civilizations, modern innovation, and 54 distinct nations. Understanding Africa accurately is not just about geography. It is about recognizing the humanity, diversity, and dignity of over 1.5 billion people. By 2050, Africa will sit at the center of one of the biggest demographic shifts in human history. More than 1 in every 4 people on Earth is expected to be African, with a massive working-age population driving labor, creativity, innovation, and economic growth. This means the future of technology, business, culture, education, and global politics will increasingly be shaped by Africa's rise. Understanding Africa today is not optional. It is essential to understanding the future of the world. As we close, remember the central message of this episode. Africa is not a single country. It is a vast continent of 54 nations, thousands of languages, diverse cultures, ecosystems, and over 1.5 billion people. The more we learn about Africa, the harder it becomes to reduce it to stereotypes or a single story. And if this changed how you see the continent, share that knowledge with someone else, because understanding begins with unlearning misconceptions. Before you go, help this message reach more people. If you learned something new today, like the video, subscribe for more deep dives, and share this with someone who still thinks Africa is a country. Small conversations can challenge big misconceptions, and every share helps expand understanding. If you want to explore this topic further, scan the QR code for additional resources, recommended readings, maps, and extended discussions. There is far more to Africa than what can fit into a single episode, and this is only the beginning of a much deeper journey into the continent's history, cultures, people, and future.